Roadium Radio knows how to podcast. Roadium Radio knows how to podcast.
Yeah, Dr. Dre is in full effect, and I gotta tell y'all a little something. Eazy-E is down with us. MC Ring, you know he's down with us. DJ Yella is down with us. Arabian Prince, you know he's down with us. Tony A the Wizard is down with us. JJ Fag is down with us. Timmy T, you know he's down with us. DJ Pooh Boy is down with us. Toddy P and Spade, they're down with us. My boy Ice Cube, you know he's down with us. I like to mention, so pay attention to where I'm from, Compton, but the tapes are from the Roadium. My name is Dre, listen while I play. And by the way, I'm also down with NWA. Yo, Steve at the Roadium is down with us. Slanging funky tapes, it is a must. We're number one.
Tony A. Tony A. When you're ready, go.
I know you guys are waiting. Episode 31, Roadium Radio. Before we get started, and I introduce my special guest, once again, I'm running out of these, so if you guys want these CD copies of 86 in the Mix, 24/7, High C, and 88 Booming Bass, get them right now, $25 for 4 of them. I'll be running out soon. The Roadium mixtape DOCUMIXERY, available at DOCUMIXERY.com. And I stand by my word that I will put this up against any West Coast documentary when it pertains to hip-hop history. And let me give a shout out to my boy Jen from Fashion Town off of Western and Carson Street. Hope I didn't get that wrong. Jen from Fashion Town, he blessed me with his hat and this Wilmington shirt. I'm always representing my neighborhood. I got love for my people in my neighborhood and love for everyone. And once again, one more announcement. Shout out to my boy Nato from San Diego because he blessed me with this little owl. You can order this at www.sawdoffcartel.com. That's cartel with a K. www.sawdoffcartel.com. I'm going to let this guy hang out for a minute over here for the rest of the show. But now we're all waiting for my special guest. So I'm going to jump right into it. Without further ado, all the way from Stockton, California, David Rocha, formerly known as Sir Dyno. Thank you, sir, for coming. I was waiting for an applause, but I can't hear the fans. But how you doing, man?
Doing good. It was a long drive, though.
I was going to ask you, how was that drive?
It was nice, actually. It was pretty fast. My wife, she's originally from the San Fernando Valley.
Really?
So I bring her to visit her family and stuff. And actually, this was the fastest we got here. I'm like, man, we got here quick, you know? But it was just, you know, because you know that on Sunday we went to church and just had the car packed, gas tank full, and just made our way all the way over here. So now we're here.
Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, this morning you were preaching on Facebook, because we're friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
I saw you preaching that sermon.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Now, I know it's Sunday. Last Sunday, we didn't have an episode, if you will, because
Super Bowl.
It was Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So since you are originally from up north, if I'm correct, are you a 49ers fan?
Raiders.
Okay, Raiders.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Were you happy with the outcome?
No, I mean, that one touchdown, you know which one I'm talking about?
Right.
That one, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, even though I support my Raiders, I mean, I'm just West Coast, you know what I mean? So it's a California team playing. Right. So I was hoping for the Niners, but man, you know, it was a good game. Regardless, it was a good game. So
That's good, man. So now, let's jump right into it. Where are you originally from? Where were you born? Where were you raised at?
I was born and raised in Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a small town. Right now I'm in Stockton, which is about 20 minutes away. But I was born and raised in Tracy. It's an hour east of Oakland.
Okay.
Well, about 40 minutes away from Oakland.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to kind of, you know.
You must have went to a lot of Oakland Raiders games then.
I've only been to 2. I used to have a lot of Raider parties in my house, though. Mm-hmm. You know, but yeah, I've only been to 2 games. But I mean, just to kind of geography-wise, it's not too far from the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what elementary school did you attend out there in Tracy?
Clover Middle School, which doesn't exist anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
So was that from, if you will, what is that, from K to 8? Is that
No, that was like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Okay.
And at the time, where I grew up was a small town.
Okay.
So there was only 2 middle schools, and that was it. So Clover was one of them, and that's where I went, but it's not there anymore. They turned it into some other type of school or something.
Okay. And high school?
Tracy High.
Tracy High. What was your guys' mascot?
A bulldog.
A bulldog. Okay.
Yeah. It's these little towns, they're like everybody's behind the football teams.
Right.
It's what you call a football town. And back then, we were winning championships left and right. So Tracy High Bulldogs were just dominating. This was during the 80s, mid to late 80s.
Okay.
And so it's a football town, and one high school now. I think there's a handful of them now.
What were your school colors?
Green and gold.
Green and gold. Okay.
I had to think about it. It's been so long.
Growing up, well, let me ask you this: going to high school, or maybe even before high school, did you ever play like any Pop Warner football or baseball or anything?
Nah.
What about high school? Any football at all?
No.
Even though your school was dominant, you didn't even like play?
Nah, they probably would have lost if I would have joined.
I mean, because you look kind of stocky. I look at your videos, and you like a stocky
Man, I was a skinny kid.
Yeah?
Actually, I was a skinny kid.
Wow.
In high school. I was real thin, and I don't know what happened. But,
Right.
But, I didn't get involved in a lot of stuff, man. I didn't, and I was just really went down the wrong path really early.
Really? Okay. Brothers, sisters?
3 brothers, no sisters.
No sisters.
Yeah, one
okay.
little brother, and 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother. So
Okay.
it's 4 of us.
Okay. And growing up at home with your mother and your father,
Yeah.
what type of music would you say you were raised or grew up with around your home?
Well, my mom and she became a Christian when I was 5. My dad when I was 8. So it was more like they were like hardcore Christian. Like you couldn't have worldly music around at all. But I grew up around the music my brothers played.
Okay.
Yeah. So my brothers, the only time I could listen to music was when I went cruising with my older brother, because he had a lowrider. He was in a lowrider car club. So he played a lot of just what we consider old school now, but it wasn't
Right.
old school then, But I mean, if I would name, I guess a lot of it was Prince, Michael Jackson, Daz Band, Gap Band, a lot of that. That's that Midnight Star.
Right.
So I grew up around a lot of that. And then the beginning of rap, Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel, I remember my brother had that, and I was blown away. It was the first time I heard rap music.
Really?
Yeah, with Grandmaster Flash. And
Wow. What song would that be? The Message?
yeah.
The
But
Message.
but he had the whole cassette.
Okay.
So we would just play it and play it, play it. I couldn't get enough of it.
Right.
It was just something about it. I never heard nothing like that before. And I can't remember. I don't know. Just a lot of those groups
Right.
that were around at that
Okay.
time. A lot of oldies too. A lot of oldies.
So I'm sure you listen to that music, escondidas, like hiding from your parents, make sure that they don't listen to, they didn't hear you.
A funny story was the fact that, like I said, I grew up in a Christian home, and like it wasn't allowed. Well, my brother bought African Bambaataa,
Okay.
Planet Rock, and he had the album. And my dad had one of those old school record players that looked kind of like they're wooden, but it was plastic.
Right.
Well, I thought I would learn how to scratch on that. And and I was just bumping it. I was bumping it loud because I got home from school. Everybody was at work. My dad was a farm worker, so he wouldn't get home till the sun went down.
Okay.
Well, this day he got home early, and he walks up the porch and hears not only his record player being played, not only his record player being scratched, his needle, because you can't
Right.
do that in those old school ones,
Right.
but worldly music being played. And oh man, he came, busted the door, and busted in through broke the door, but
Right.
opened the door and broke the record. And what are you doing? This and that. And it's kind of funny because I joke with them now, because I'm like, Dad, if you didn't have broke that, I wouldn't have been rebellious and became a rapper. Like, because I was just joking with them,
Right.
but I joke with them and say that's what sparked it right there. But I said, Dad, I'm just trying to DJ, I'm trying to scratch. And
Right.
he's like, he wasn't hearing it, but
Back then, we didn't have scratch pads either, you know. So you're scratching the bottom of the record.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So now let me ask you this, and be honest. Did you pop or break dance back in the days?
Yes, of course, right?
Of course.
Who
all
did
of us did it. We all did. Were you any good?
I was really good at popping.
Okay.
Breakdancing, I could hold my own.
Do you still have any good moves that you can show? No.
Yeah, we cleared this table.
Right.
No.
Okay. Now, ever play any instruments at all in school or at home?
No,
other than the
not till
turntable?
later. Not till later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your brother. So, would you say your brothers were somewhat of a major influence on you, leading you to rap, if you will, because they actually introduced you to rap, and you said a big influence or something that you were really attracted to was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message, and that they had the song Scorpio and Freedom and a bunch of other dope songs. So would you say that those songs were your early inspiration to becoming a rapper, or is that just the music?
I think at that time I just loved it. I loved the music and the vibe and what it was doing because it's so different at that time. Right. You know, and I think there was more of an influence toward just the whole Chicanismo, lowriding, because my brother was in a lowrider car club. He was in one of the oldest car clubs actually in Stockton, which was Brown Persuasion. And so I would always go to their meetings. Whenever Lowrider magazine would come and do a car show, it was like a big deal for me to go with my brother to enter his car, and we'd wax his car and clean it up, and so it was really exciting. So that whole life is, I kind of feel like this pull because I was raised in a Christian home, but the same, nothing's wrong with lowriding, you know. But I'm saying what I turned it to later. Right. But at the time, it really ingrained in me that whole lifestyle and just our culture. Yes. And I grew up embracing that. Yeah. You know, and I think that influenced not the rap, but what I rapped about. Okay. Okay. Did you end up graduating high school? No. Oh, don't feel bad neither that I no. And I admit that shamefully because I wish I could have. Yeah, yeah. I love learning now. Yes. And I'm like, why didn't I love learning then? You know, and to be honest, I didn't have a problem with learning. I just had a problem with listening to teachers. Same here. You know, because learning wasn't a problem. I've always been a reader all my life. Since I was a kid, all the way through high school. I know this sounds weird, but sometimes I would ditch school and go to the library and read. Really? Yeah, and it's weird. I would pick different subjects. I would like Roman civilization, and I'd just sit there and read it. You know what I mean? And it was weird. Some of my homeboys thought I was kind of weird. Like, what's up with this dude? What are you reading books for? You know, but yeah, I didn't graduate high school. At 18, I did go back to get my GED though. Okay. Because by that time I had a daughter, and for whatever reason I had the clarity enough to say, man, this little girl is going to grow up someday, and I want to be able to push her education, and how can I do it without one myself? So I went back, took the GED, and got that. So okay. Now, what year were you supposed to graduate? Do you remember? 90. Okay. I was supposed to graduate 86. Okay. You know, but I always tell everybody I graduated backstage. You know, I was just cruising around the graduation with me and my brother drinking 40s, you know. Yeah. But I wish I could have, because, you know, as sad as this may sound, and I don't, believe me, I don't say this proudly, I say shamefully. My mom had 10 kids and only one graduated high school. Only one. Yeah. So, you know, back then you could have called me el burro, es un burro, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't like reading until I hit like around 21 years old. Yeah. That's when I fell in love with books. Like I tried buying tablets and tried downloading books, but I love reading and opening books. I like going to old antique stores. I love going to old libraries. I just like reading. Same here. Know, I'll show you later in the back. I have a collection of maybe about 1,000 books. Wow. That I book, because you mentioned like Rome. I read about ancient history. I love ancient history. Oh yeah, I love history. Yeah, so few things that we have in common. Now, as soon as you left school, when did you get your first job? Do you remember your first job? It was at a car wash. Okay. Yeah, at a car wash, being a dryer. Okay. Just drying with the towels. You know, I had that job, and then I learned how to detail because my brother that was into lowriding. He had started painting custom cars, a lot of cars. So just kind of hanging around with him, because he was like, always with him. You know what I mean? And he taught me how to buff cars and do this and that. So then I learned how to detail, with the buffers and stuff.
Right.
So then I ended up getting jobs at some of the local Ford dealership, Chevrolet dealership. I had a problem with listening to anybody, so the jobs I didn't keep them very long, but. Those are my first jobs was auto detail.
Yeah, it was same thing for me. I had a problem. I would say my third job. Wow, first job was selling records at the age of 11. Second job was working at Zodi's. Do you remember Zodi's back in the day?
Yeah.
I worked there. My brother got me a job there, and they didn't like me because I didn't take orders well. Then my third job was at a video store, and I quit before they could find the phone bill because I was making outrageous phone calls, long distance phone calls, hanging out on the
That's
phone.
when they used to charge for long distance.
That's when they used to charge long distance. And then they went up from like after 9 o'clock, I guess it was free or something like that. Okay. So you were going out with your brothers, and do you believe possibly hanging out with your brothers is what led you, if you will, into the life that you were once a part of, hanging out on the streets, if you will? Do you believe it started there or outside influences possibly?
I hate to say complete, because my brothers never got involved in all that stuff.
Okay.
They were, especially my older brother, he was a cholo, pachuco, you know what I mean? The way he dressed, and I grew up seeing him creasing his pants, creasing his baggies, creasing his Dickies and his Ben Davis. And so that influence, as far as that style of dress, that he did influence me. But he wasn't getting in trouble. He was into lowriders. And you guys know, a lot of people outside of our culture, they mix gangbangers with lowriders, and actually those are two completely different things.
Right.
Because the guys that are into lowriders, they love their cars, they care for the cars, they care for that culture. So he was more that direction.
Okay.
But I think when I grew up in my generation, which was next, because my brother's 10 years older than me, that whole dress turned into something different over there.
Okay.
I know it was way different, down here in SoCal, but over there it started changing into something negative.
Okay.
And that's kind of what. So I don't want to directly say he led me down a wrong path, but as far as the cholo style, that he did influence me.
Okay. Like with me, I don't ever want to, how would you say, paint a picture of me that I was a really, really bad guy. But I will say that at one point in my life, I was really rebellious. I had brother-in-laws, and even my mother and my father, they used to call me El Diablo. And they weren't being sarcastic.
Well,
they just say, "Ese cabrón es un diablo." That's what they used to call me because I just never listened. I was never good at listening. And out of all my brothers and sisters, they would say that I was the worst one, But I would say my brothers didn't have an influence on my sisters. It was what I gave myself to outside of my family.
Yeah.
I would see people breaking into homes. I would see people breaking into cars, involved in gangs. And after a while, I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. I thought at first, during that time, that's my family.
Yeah.
Outside. Was there anything similar like that to you?
For me, another thing too, that in Tracy, because it was a small town, which was pretty much predominantly, you were either going to be white or Latino. That's it.
Okay.
There was hardly any blacks, any Asians, anything. And the school I went to was probably 98% white.
Okay.
And so the reason I got involved into the bad stuff was actually because of racism toward me as a kid.
Okay.
I was, as a little kid, these kids I grew up with in kindergarten, first, second, by the third, fourth, fifth grade, they're calling me wetback and beaner. And I'm just like, I didn't even understand what that meant, and I would go home and be like, I got called this. What does that mean? And it was then that it was more about race than, because there was no vario against vario. There wasn't none of that.
Right.
It was more about just straight racism. I remember one time I got surrounded. I went to the bathroom in elementary school, came out, and I was surrounded, wasn't let out. And they started calling me names and spitting sunflower seeds at me, calling me wetback, stuff like that. So at that time, that's, I think, this anger and hate started to grow in me. And that just unleashed when I got older, in my teen years.
Right.
And I think that's what started more of it.
Yeah. Something similar here, even though here in the city of Wilmington, during the 80s, it was black and Mexican.
Yeah.
Okay, black and Mexican. And blacks were killing Mexicans, Mexicans killing blacks, and Mexicans were killing Mexicans here. But I would say that in my junior high school, there were some whites and there were blacks, Samoans, Filipinos, and Mexicans predominantly. Well, not just one predominant nationality,
Yeah.
it was just many people. But I would say that I was actually called the same thing, wetback, pinche mojado, go back to your tu país,
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff like that. And inside, it really, really brings you down,
Yeah.
And in me, it built attitude of I'm going to show them, and I think that was possibly what led me down the wrong path at one point in my
Yeah.
life. My little brother actually experienced that the same thing. But yeah, I think that's what pretty much led me in that direction. Now, taking it back to the music, when did you, at what point in your life, or possibly at what age, did you say, what influenced you? What did you see that you said, I'm going to take, the pencil to the paper
Yeah.
and start writing some lyrics?
I think I was about 15 and a half.
Okay.
And I started writing poems.
Okay.
And it didn't even dawn on me that it was raps, because at that time, all it was a lot of East Coast and maybe a handful of artists from LA, like LA Dream Team, and just like those
Right.
first, which wasn't really rap, you know what I mean?
Wrecking Crew and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it was mostly, so I didn't think of it like I was writing raps. I was just writing poems, and a lot of it was, for me, I used the poetry to kind of, I had a lot of stuff going on, because then it started kind of getting into gangs without realizing that's what it was going to. Now that, as I look back, but at the time there was groups of people and we started fighting, and then just drama started happening, and I would kind of unleash on paper,
Okay.
in poems. And one day I got kicked out of Tracy High, and I went to a continuation. And I don't know if what it was like over here, but over there, if you were a DJ, then you were almost like a little celebrity.
It's like that here.
Okay. And back then, the DJs would rent a hall. And because he was DJing, everybody would go to the dance, or whatever they call it.
Right.
Well, there was this local DJ in Tracy, DJ MT. Everybody knew about him. I knew about him. And when I went to continuation school, I was right next to him, sitting down. I'm like, man, I'm sitting by DJ MT. You know what I mean? It was like a big old deal to me.
Right.
And I don't even know if he knows this now, if he watches this or anything. And one day he saw me writing. He goes, "What are you writing?" And I said, "Oh, nothing. And he's, "No, seriously, what are you writing?" And he just kept on. I was like, "Well, I'm just writing some poems." And he goes, Can I hear them?" I was like, "No." But he finally convinced me, and I showed him something. He's like, "Man," he goes, "you need to make these into raps. You should do these poems with beats behind it." And coming from him was a huge, like, "You think so?" And it was just kind of there, right? And at the same time is when Too Short came out.
Okay.
Now, Too Short, before the nation knew about him, he was a local artist, sold out of his trunk literally, and had these cassettes that the covers were made like on some copy machine.
Okay.
And in the local store in Tracy, because we were in the vicinity, he, I guess, I don't know how they got in our local store, but there was this Too Short cassette, Born to Mac and Freaky Tales and a lot of these songs. And I'm like, this guy is like 40 minutes away from here. Like, to me, all rap was on the East Coast.
Right.
And kind of this encouragement from DJ and T and the poems, and then Too Short. I'm like, if he could do it, I could do it.
Right.
And that's kind of what kicked it off. That's what started it.
Okay. And how soon after that would you say that you got into making beats, or should I say, who did you find to say, make me a beat? Or were you just rapping off of instrumentals off of side B recs, of 12-inch
Yeah,
songs?
at first, for a very short time, it was just rapping on records.
Okay.
Just to myself, not to anybody, and I'm thank God, because it was horrible, but and it just kind of started like that. But then there was a studio in Stockton at UOP. UOP is one of the big universities over there.
Okay.
And I found out they rented studio time. So I go to find out, and it's this white man that's blind. engineering the studio. And I'm just talking to him. I said, how much do I charge? I want to do 3 songs. I want to do a demo. You know, that was like the thing back then. You got to have a demo. And he produced the whole thing. And it was through him that I learned to engineer.
Really?
Yeah, because he would be like, I'm like, what are you doing right now? I was like a million questions. And he's like, oh, this is the bass. This is the compressor. This is all this stuff. And he goes, I want you to hear something. He goes, I want you to stand right here. He goes, close your eyes. And he taught me how to mix with my eyes closed because he was blind.
Wow.
So a lot of times, I made my first albums on a 4-track, and people couldn't understand, how did you make that 4-track sound like that? Because to me, I credit, his name was Jeff Crawford. I learned from him because he taught me the art of mixing and engineering, because you can have a good song all you want.
Right.
But if it ain't engineered and mixed right.
Right.
And that's kind of what started it. But after those 3 songs, I realized really fast I couldn't afford to keep paying this guy to produce.
Right.
And so I started diving into buying my own equipment.
Okay. About how many songs would you say you recorded with this man?
3.
3 songs. Okay.
Yeah.
Total of 3. And did he give it to you on what? A DAT, on cassette, CD at the time?
How did he give them to me?
And do you,
I don't remember.
Do you remember what kind of board he had or anything like that?
No, it was one of those. It was a huge board. It was back then, so I didn't pay attention at that time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't digital. It had meters.
Okay.
So
analog then.
Yeah, it was analog.
Okay.
Yeah, there was no digital.
Okay.
Yet.
So soon after that, you started, if you will, looking into buying your own equipment, and I guess you bought a 4-track, like you said.
Yeah, I bought a 4-track, a Fostex.
Okay.
And
any turntables, anything?
No, but I did buy a Roland D20 workstation. The whole reason, because you can make a whole song on it. You can sequence your beats and just keep adding tracks of instrumentals, So I started to produce and because I couldn't afford it. So I never played music in my life. So I just started playing what sounded good to my ear.
So you just...
Yeah. I did the drum tracks. I learned, like I said, what I did know, I learned from those 3 songs from this man that was blind. And to me, he almost became like a
mentor, if you will.
Well, like a Yoda. He became a mentor, and I believe that what I learned with him that short period of time, few months.
Yes.
I mean, took me 5-6 steps up the ladder had I tried this whole thing by myself.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had an upper hand because of him.
Now, let me ask you this. When you bought your equipment, because to me, this was a big one. Yeah. I only knew how to hook up turntables to a mixer, and a mixer to an amp, and then from the amp to the speakers. Did you know how to hook up all your equipment, or did you have somebody else?
At first, I bought the keyboard first, so I would make beats, but then I would still go to him to record my songs.
Okay.
So the whole thing would be saved on a floppy disk. I had a floppy disk on the keyboard, and I'd show up, and I'd say, I got 5 songs, and I'd pay him for those hours, but I already had the songs memorized. I was ready to go, and that way it wouldn't cost me so much money. It wasn't until later watching him engineer those songs that I went and got the 4-track. And by that time, I mean, I'm very savvy with technology and stuff anyway, so I just took off from there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now you go back to record with him. How soon after that did you release anything as far as album? But how many songs before you said, if you could remember, like, okay, I'm ready. Let me go ahead and throw this out there.
I think from the time I was 16 until the time I was 19 or 20.
So it was actually a couple of years then.
Yeah, I was just. I started to do concerts before I ever recorded anything, because I didn't know that process of the industry at all.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that. And I thought I did my homework on you.
Yeah. So I did concerts first, and I approached a car. It wasn't a lowrider magazine, but it was a competitor lowrider magazine. He was throwing car shows everywhere, and I approached him and I said, "Is there any way that I can perform in your car shows?" Because he was getting headliners, And he says, "Well, I'll tell you what. Help me put flyers up, He goes, and whatever show we do, if you help me promote it, because back then the car shows, every single post had the picture. Right. I don't know if they did it like that over here, but
yeah.
I mean, he would leave me on this main street, and he'd be like, "I'm gonna start on that side, and you start on this side," and we would just with the staple gun and stacks of flyers, and he would put me on as the very first act, which wasn't really nothing because at 12 o'clock nobody's at a car show.
Right.
You know, but I had to work my way up. From that.
And at the time, this was just you by yourself. You being solo?
No, I had a few other guys with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a few guys. I had my cousin at the time. I had FDA and this other guy. And they didn't continue with it after that, you know, but it was just us, and we would just do these shows.
Now, before we go to commercial, let me ask you this. They give you the mic. They introduce you. Okay. Yeah. And at this time, was it Sir Dyno? Was it already that name?
Yeah, it was already Sir Dyno.
Okay. When we come back, we'll get into why Sir Dyno. But they give you the mic. Sir Dyno, here you go. First of all, how many songs do you remember performing?
At that time?
Yeah, at that time. Your first show.
I probably had like 4 or 5 in my repertoire, but I probably would do like 1 or 2.
Okay.
Every time I performed live.
Now, did you get nervous when you first went out there?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. You probably forgot your lyrics, huh?
All the time. I still do. If I would, people tell me now, they're like, "Hey, you know, remember that song? Remember that?" I was like, I don't remember. And they're like, "No, come on, I know you're a Christian now, but you remember?" I was like, "Really? I don't remember my songs," because I would knock songs out left and right. I would be in the studio all night, record a song, next. I just write them on the fly and just record them, you know. So I never had a chance to give myself a chance to even memorize my songs.
Now you're out there rapping, and all of a sudden, you forget. What do?
I just started talking to the crowd.
Say ho.
Yeah. Good part about it was I use instrumentals. So I didn't rap over my own songs with lyrics. I had instrumentals. So to them, it was like it must have been a break or a bridge on there. So,
all right.
Yeah, cool. So it didn't make me look crazy with my voice still booming. And yeah.
That'll work. Okay, well, hold that thought. We're gonna come back. We're gonna go commercial. We're gonna take 10 minutes, and then we're gonna pick up with your name, Sir Dyno, and we'll go on from there.
All right.
So, okay, once again, everybody, Roadium Radio, episode 31, the DOCUMIXERY.com. The 4 CDs for $25. My little Al kicking it over here at www.sawtoffcartel.com. Once again, call somebody, text somebody, page somebody, slap somebody, let them know that David Rocha, formerly known as Sir Dyno, is in the building, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Check it out, right about now, Dr. Dre's on the wheels, and I'm about to cold tear shit up. Hey, yo, D, you got a level? Hit record, man.
Get busy, easy, and Tony A on the 12 technique, see?
Here's a little something by a nigga like me. They never should have 55 cents from the stage.
Yo, this is your main man stage.
You don't like Tony A or
I'm rocking shit at the Roadium. Just do 1, 2, 1, 2. Right about now, you Dr. Dre's in the motherfucking
drop that bass.
It's Mr. Little One chilling on Roadium Radio with the one and only Tony A and John motherfucking Elkins, boy.
Hey, what up? It's your boy Mr. Shadow. You're watching Roadium Radio with my homeboy Tony A the Wizard. You know what time it is.
Yeah, what up? This is Mr. Night Owl, and you're listening to Roadium Radio with the legendary Tony A the motherfucking Wizard.
Yo, what's cracking? Nosotros somos Aquid. Y estamos aquí con Tony A the Wizard. You know Roadium Radio, damn it. You know what it is.
Yo, what up? This is Mellow Man Ace Padrino, and you tuned in to Roadium Radio with my man Tony A. Keep it locked.
Yo, what's cracking? It's your boy OG Arabian Prince from the world's most dangerous group, NWA. sitting here with my boy Tony A the Wizard on Roadium Radio.
What's up? This is Esther Dazzle, Spanish Fly, Harbor Area's finest. Tune in to Tony A on Roadium Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's your homegirl Magic Girl, and you are now listening to Roadium Radio with Tony A the Wizard.
Yo, what's up? This is Bozo, aka Emiliano. You tune into Roadium Radio on Tony Vision's YouTube channel. Let's get it.
What up, what up? It's Mr. Soto. You guys are now in tune to Roadium Radio right here on Tony Vision on YouTube. Yep.
Check it out. This is MC Poncho on the MIC. Shout out to Tony A the Wizard, Roadium Radio. You already know.
What up? This is DJ Trick, Spanish Fly, and you're watching Tony A on the Roadium Radio Show.
Big G, Roadium Radio, Tony A in full effect. Stay tuned, watch, listen. That's how we doing it over here.
Yo, what up? I'm out here. This Big Daddy Swoles. I'm jamming with my man, Tony A the Wizard, out here on Roadium Radio. The podcast is off the hook. Check us out.
This is DJ Clientele, and you are listening to Roadium Radio with Tony A the Wizard.
Yeah, this Baby Bounce here with Tony A the Wizard. You are now tuned in to the Roadium Radio. We do it for the people. You hear me?
Mic check. Ernie G from Proper Dos, and I'm listening to Tony A the motherfucking Wizard on Roadium Radio. And if you don't know, you should know.
What's up, everybody? This is Soren Baker. I'm the author of the book, The History of Gangster Rap, in stores now worldwide. And you're listening to Roadium Radio, hosted by Tony A. Make sure to check it out. We talk about the Roadium mixtapes. We're here. Soren Baker, Roadium Radio.
Y'all, this is Rudy Gregg, and I'm chilling with Tony the Wizard on Roadium Radio.
Yo, this is Daniel Jones, the D to the motherfucking G Media Clips. Here with your boy, Tony A the Wizard on the Roadium Radio Show.
Hey, this is Swifty Blue. I'm right here at Roadium Radio with Tony A the Wizard. Stay tuned.
It's the KAS here live on Roadium Radio with the one and only Tony A the Wizard.
What up, y'all? This is Kiki Smooth, the first Mexican rapper out of Compton, rich and ruthless, and you're listening to the Roadium Radio with Tony A, the Grand Wizard, El Mago himself. Hey, Compton's in the house.
Yo, what's up? This is John motherfucking Elkins, and you're tuning into Roadium Radio with my homeboy DJ Tony A the Wizard.
What up, West Coast and all hip-hop fans? This is your girl, Violet Brown, and I'm here with Tony A the Wizard. And if you're rolling with us right now, that means that you love West Coast hip-hop. And if you want to know the real deal from the real players, the real people behind the scenes, you better pick up Tony's new film, Roadium Mixtape DOCUMIXERY. You get it by going to DOCUMIXERY.com. You better get this, and I want to do a special shout out and a rest in peace to my man Steve YANO. I'm out.
A Roadium mixtape to me was something that was made just for the Roadium. You wouldn't hear it anywhere else. And they would do raps on those tapes that were nowhere else. You know what I'm saying? And they were truly the first mixtapes that we ever heard, you know? And they would shout the Roadium out, and you could kind of tell it was like someone's garage, maybe. The little echo, you know what I mean? It wasn't completely perfect and polished yet. But that was the beauty of it, that it was so raw that we could feel that shit. And I would just play them shits and draw. That was my inspiration, my motivation to draw. So I always had to have some type of music. You know, if it wasn't the Dynamic Superiors or the Temprees or some funk playing, it was, you know, second to none. It was quick. It was the Penthouse Players, you know, High C. And Tony G was at that time was like a god too. You know what I'm saying? He was out there DJing Latin freestyle parties, and all the girls had their hairspray like a lion and shit, and hickeys on their neck. And man, pushing strollers, and we would be like, ooh, look at, you know, these parties at La Casa and shit, you know what I'm saying, in downtown, and mini trucks and beds were folded in the air like transformers and shit in the boulevard, coming up and changing and flipping, and subwoofers beating before the person even hit the corner. You get goosebumps, like, damn, and Elko would bend the corner on Dayton's, and you were like, ooh, that fool's strapped right there. That fool gotta be strapped. Motherfucker had candy ribbons, little Willie ribbons from Compton on the side of his shit. Jerry curl dripping all over his shit. Bent over to the side, bumping that fucking Roadium shit. And he had a tape that only came from right there. And if you didn't know about that place or you didn't live in that area, you didn't have that shit. So that's kind of one up that the harbor area had on a lot of other people. Compton was next door, but that harbor area was ended in Gardena. You know what I'm saying? So, man, those were great times, man.
A Roadium mixtape is like a kilo of cocaine. It's like a kilo of amigo powder. You get that shit, you cut that motherfucker open, and you put it in your motherfucking CD player, and you start listening, and you be like, that's dope, shit, this is dope. How you do that? But really, a Roadium mixtape, bro, if you haven't experienced it and you was in hip hop back then, I don't know what the hell you was doing. You done fucked up. A Roadium mixtape is like, it's a kilo of cocaine. Music wise, I'm saying, motherfucker.
Man, that's a little tough, but I'll tell you what, it was the best thing ever for me, man. It was just kind of like something you never heard about. And especially West Coast was not getting that shine at the time, you know? So you would go to this place and they would make a custom tape, like, you know? And not knowing what it was just the sound that came out of those tapes that, if I'm correct, you'd have to, like, I would be feeling for those things if it was monthly, if not sometimes bi-monthly, but a tape, it was just a mixture of the latest songs all mixed together. But the intro had like this crazy mix that I at the time I believed that it was like 4 turntables at the same time, but I was like, how the hell are they doing this? Like, was it Superman behind the turntables or something like that? But a mixtape was a real mixtape. It was actually a cassette too, you know, just for the record.
Once again, everybody, welcome back to a Roadium Radio episode 31. And I'm sitting here with David Rocha, also known as, or formerly known as, Sir Dyno. Sir Dyno, thank you for coming back. We're back now. We're going to jump right into it. As a matter of fact, you know, let me say something really quick, because people need to know how we actually met. And to me, it was kind of a cool story. I think it was because we have 31 episodes. Well, this will be 31, but I think it was like the 15th episode that I did. And that was when I was checking my YouTube comments. I don't check them anymore because there's people that go on there purposely just to get under your skin. Okay. So I was checking them, and I noticed that names were popping up like Psycho Realm, Conejo, what's the other guy? Night Owl, or etc. And then another name kept popping up, Sir Dyno. Get Sir Dyno, get Sir Dyno. Like 10 different people on all the comments, get Sir Dyno, get Sir Dyno. But there was one guy that on every time he got an opportunity, I believe, get Sir Dyno, get Sir Dyno. And then I finally, for me to stop getting the notification, I just said, okay, have him contact me. Yeah. That's all I said. Have him contact me. You know, I don't know if he knew you. And then he responds, well, I don't know him. And I go, well, neither do I. Yeah. Okay. Like, in other words, stop bugging. Yeah. Not that I'm trying to be mean or nothing. But finally, he hits me back like a few minutes later, and he says, hey, I hit him up, and he answered, give me your email. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't know about this one. Yeah. So I sent him my email. Then he emails me, and he goes, give me your number. I'll give it to him. He said he'll call you. So then I was like, okay, should I give him my number? You know, so I said, all right, cool, whatever. Gave him my number through email, and then you called. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't believe it. I thought the guy was just pulling my leg. Yeah. But that's actually how we met, and we set this up late last year, if you will. Yeah. I think in November or something like that, we talked.
Yeah. Right before Christmas.
Yeah, and that's how we set that up. But I'll tell you what, when I posted this flyer this week on Monday. Was it Monday or no, Thursday actually?
Yeah.
On Thursday, the response was overwhelming. Like there was a lot of people that were happy and excited that this was actually going to take place, you know, and I was happy and excited. And then you got those few knuckleheads, and I know they're watching right now. So by the way, those comments on the live chat are hilarious. So keep them coming, you guys, because that's actually entertainment for us when we're on our break. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Sir Dyno, how did you come up with that name?
It was actually a childhood name. Since you brought up breaking and popping,
right?
I really liked that, and it died out really fast.
Yeah.
You know, I remember being in 6th or 7th grade, and that's all everybody did at lunchtime. That's all everybody did after school. And then when it started dying out, I was kind of sad about it. I'm like, man, what's up, man? This is fun, you know? I just learned all these moves, and now it's just phasing out, you know? And then the craziest thing, I saw this Mountain Dew commercial of these guys doing tricks on a bike. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, in my head, I was in 7th grade, and I said, that looks like breakdancing on a bike.
Wow.
And so I started doing that. I started doing tricks on my BMX bike. And this GT, remember GT?
Yeah.
You know, those like red line Diamondback? Well, GT made a bike called a Dyno.
Okay.
And you know, like I said, my dad was a farmer. We didn't have a whole lot of money. But I took that ad out of a magazine, posted it on my door of my bedroom, and I fantasized to have this Dyno all chrome bike, you know. And so when I finally did get it, after my 8th grade, after 8th grade, everybody called me Dyno. I would just go around town as a kid just doing tricks on my bike. You know, and I started, to me, it was an extension of breakdancing because it was like you would play music. It got to the point where we would do little shows at little carnivals and stuff like that.
Right.
There was a group of us, and it was actually really, to me, the quiet before the storm of all hell breaking loose in my life.
Right.
Was that moment. That was like a really happy time in my life, you know, and everybody just knew me as Dyno or Dyno Dave because everywhere I went was on a Dyno bike.
Were you good at doing tricks and everything?
Yeah. I got a sponsorship by this local bike shop, and we would do the parades and everything. It was fun.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun.
And for how long did you do that?
Between 8th grade, 9th grade, and maybe probably the end of 9th, that's when I just started. I just messed up, you know, just started acting dumb.
Okay.
Right?
You know, it's funny, you said you brought up bikes. It's funny because my first bike was a Kent.
Yeah, I remember those.
From Kmart. My brother bought one, but I thought it was the dopest thing. You know, the wheels were like gold with the rims.
Yeah.
I used to lie to people, say they were alloyed wheels, you know, but the only thing I could do was do a short wheelie, a little bunny hop, and a kick out, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but I was never really any good at that crap. But
so that just stuck. Everybody in town knew me as Dyno.
Okay.
So then when I started rapping a few years later, I just put the Sir on there because I didn't want to put MC because everybody was MC this, MC that, or Grandmaster this. So I just said Sir Dyno.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. So now you do your first show.
Yeah.
You forget your lyrics. Who would you say was the headliner? Do you remember?
My first show I did was at a lowrider. It wasn't Lowrider Magazine, but it was a lowrider car show in Oakwood. What was it called, man? It was in Manteca, which is the town next to Tracy. And Kid Frost was the headliner.
Really?
He had just came out with Raza, the Raza song.
Okay.
And but obviously he was headlining, so he was way, you know, at the end of right before the end of the trophies and everything. I was way in the beginning, but that was the first time I did a concert.
Okay. Did you get a chance to meet him?
No.
Okay. No. Who else performing there, if you can remember?
At that show?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay.
It might have been Joe Cooley. No, that was a different show. Yeah, it was a different one, Rodney and Joe Cooley.
So you ever meet Rodney and Joe Cooley?
Yeah. I did a whole lot of car shows after that with a lot of headliners after that, and each time it was crazy because at the time there was hardly any Chicano rappers. There wasn't any other than Frost with his song, you know, and for sure there wasn't any up north at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when me coming out, I come out all choloed out and everything. So it was a whole different thing. And each show, I started gathering more people. More people started knowing my name, and I started doing the car show circuit. And we would go like from Stockton, and then we'd do a Sacramento car show, San Jose car show, Oakland car show. So my name started getting out there. They're like, man, there's this Cholo dude up there rapping, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what, as more people started coming, the promoter started bumping me up closer and closer to the headliner.
Okay.
So before I even had a release out, I was already headlining shows.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of backwards for most people in the industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Just headlining show, and you didn't even really have...
Didn't have anything.
Just rapping off instrumentals, if you will.
Yeah, well, they were my instrumentals off the D20, off the rolling D20. But they were my songs, and I was really close up there. Usually by this time, it would be like I did, Ronnie Joe Cooley, Second to None, Ice Cube, Frost, Cypress Hill, MC Breed.
You know what? I'm surprised that we never did any shows with you, because we did a lot of shows up north.
Yeah.
And I got another story I want to share with you. Yeah. When my first encounter with some norteños.
Were you doing the Lowrider magazine circuit though?
Okay, no. We just getting booked from all kinds of different promoters. So
because I was just strictly with this promoter doing his car shows.
Okay. Yeah. Now, it's funny because. Okay, well, I'm not going to jump into that story. I'll get into it.
All right.
So now, when you're doing these shows, at what point now did you decide, okay, I need to release my first album?
The whole deal with this promoter was he kept telling me, you're the next biggest thing. You're the next biggest thing. So every car show, he would hype me up to put more flyers up for him.
Okay.
And, and he kept promising that he would take me to the studio and release these songs. So it was like a little carrot that he hang in front of me.
Oh, wow.
And then he'd be like, oh, the car show didn't do that good, but the next one's going to be big. Next one's going to be big, but just help me put these flyers up. And that's kind of like he just, kind of did that. And toward the end, he did release a EP of my songs, and that's the very first release I had.
Okay. Do you know what year that was?
I think 91.
91.
Yeah,
okay.
91.
But what year would you say you started making music with this blind gentleman?
88.
88. So you literally started in 88.
Maybe 89.
Okay, and didn't release nothing until 1991.
Yeah.
That was the same year that the I'm Not Your Puppet album, my album, dropped.
Yeah. Which I bought.
Yeah. and so that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised that we never did any shows. Now, your album drops or EP drops.
Yeah.
What did you have?
Locally. It was locally.
6 or 7 songs?
I think like 6.
Okay. Yeah. And what was the title of that album?
It was GUN.
Okay.
It was called Generation Under Nation at that time.
Okay.
And I don't even remember the song names. Like actually, I don't remember. Maybe Port Side of Town, Tracy Town Familia. I think I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after that, how did that do locally?
Amazing. I couldn't hold on to them. Yeah, wow. Just cassettes. They're all shrink wrapped and just. And then really quick after that, then I recorded a full-blown album, and I named it after the car club my brother was in, Brown Persuasion.
Okay.
And that one was even further. Now it just really took off.
Wow.
Yeah. Locally. No distribution, no nothing.
Now, if you had to guess, or maybe you do know, why do you think it did so well? Why do you think it took off? It's just your lyrics were hitting people. It was the music. People were able to relate to it.
I think all of that. I've always been told. I don't know. I've always been told my voice was unique.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the only voice I know, so I don't know. Another thing was the fact that nobody was doing music for our people.
Okay.
And if they did, it was like Frost, and that was so far away.
Right.
And but being that I would mention San Francisco, Oakland, Sacramento, so. There was nobody else doing it.
So it was like the people in your community was pretty much saying, we have somebody.
Yeah.
And they embraced it and they ran with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, maybe other people that were in it as on that end, maybe they'll say something different, but my whole thing was I wanted to do music for our people, and that was it.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to cross over. I wasn't trying to do any of those things. Not to say any of that is wrong,
right.
But I just wanted to share the experience, of of what I went through. You know,
Okay.
my dad being a farm worker, my dad, you know, me being raised, you know, seeing the tomato fields. We lived on a ranch, you know, in Tracy. So sharing that experience, you know, I bonded a lot mentally when I would read about Cesar Chavez and the things that he did. And then my dad telling me stories about Cesar Chavez coming to the fields and saying huelga. You know, so a lot of that stuff was a huge influence for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then after Brown Persuasion came what next?
After Brown Persuasion.
Would you say Interview with the Chicano?
No, actually after that, I got tired of nothing happening. I had a daughter now.
Okay.
I had a little baby daughter. I got fired from my job, and I said, you know what? I need to make money, and this ain't making money. Who cares if I go to a car show and there's 1,000 people cheering for me? That doesn't feed my daughter. And I had actually contemplating just quitting rap music.
Okay.
I mean, for what? What's it for? You know, it ain't gonna do nothing. And so I went through maybe almost a year of just laying it down. I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with it. The studio just started gathering dust, and you know, it was doing nothing.
Okay.
And at that time, there was a lot of local rappers that we would see each other at the car shows.
Okay.
And then I wouldn't see them until the next month when there was another car show. And these two brothers, they're the Quiroz brothers. They're the ones that started making the movie. I started making the movies with them. They showed up at my house because they ran into a homeboy of mine that lived where they lived, and he brought them to my house. And they basically sat down with me. They're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I ain't doing anything." They're like, "No, man, you can't give up. We got to keep pushing." And they were local artists, and they had a local following in the Bay Area. And they're like, "We got to get together and do something."
Okay.
And I was like, "For what?" You know what I mean? I was just like, "For what? It ain't gonna do nothing." And nobody wants to hear Mexicans rapping. You know, and
Yeah.
you gotta understand. I mean, now it's different, but back then nobody was trying to hear it.
Right.
You know, nobody's trying to hear it. My homeboys weren't even listening to they would listen to other stuff. You know, they wouldn't even give my stuff the time of day or anybody else. And so, but they said, "Let's do this, man. Let's really do this." And I was like, how? What do you mean? How are you gonna do this?
If you don't mind me asking, who were these two individuals?
They were Jose and Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, they're two brothers, and they had a following. They had a group called Temporary Insanity in the Bay Area. And they said, "Listen, we see you at the shows. Why don't we combine our fans and make a super group?"
Yeah.
And you know some of these rappers. You know this rapper. I knew a rapper out of San Francisco. And so we're like, let's combine our fan base. What do you got? Like 1,000 people that like your stuff? I said, yeah. Well, we got, you know, maybe the same amount. And so-and-so has the same amount. Why don't we create this super group? And we came up with the name Darkroom Familia.
Okay.
And
What inspired Darkroom Familia? Because there was a record label, if I'm correct, called Familia Records.
Yeah, that was later. I think that was later. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like I said, my dad lived in a ranch, and there was this old building, and I built my studio back there. And once we built it, kind of reminds me of this. It was just completely enclosed. It was completely dark. There was no windows. So we're like, man, it's a dark room, you know, and we were a family. So that's kind of what
made sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the first official release. We did this album called From the Body with Love.
Okay.
And that we pressed 1,000 cassettes at that time. Went, you know, he knew local stores in the Bay Area. So-and-so knew local stores in San Francisco area. So we all just put all of our resources together, pressed 1,000 cassettes, shot it out, and boom, they went like fast. And we had to press another 1,000.
Really?
And it was at that time, I don't know how, but John Barunda got a copy of that.
John Barunda. Now, for those of you that out here know who John Barunda is, so we'll leave it at that. So, so go ahead and continue the story.
And I got this call because I think I had my phone number or maybe a pager. I don't know back then, you know.
Right.
But somehow I got this call from Los Angeles, and this guy, he tells me, "Hey, do you know who Proper Dos is?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." He goes, "I helped put them out in Juvenile Delinquents or
Juvenile Style, maybe."
I don't know. I don't remember. And he goes, "Man, I want to take this album and get it nationwide from the Body with Love." He goes, "I think it's gonna be big," and that's kind of where everything took off from there. And we became, within that summer, we became nationwide.
So you actually drove down here to meet him then? John Baranda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what did he actually just hook you up with a distribution? Is that what it was?
He was working with the newly formed label called Sunset Boulevard. It was on La Brea, and it was from my understanding, it was a whole bunch of entertainment lawyers that had major money, and they wanted to start a label, and they had major money. I mean, they pulled all their money together, and he presented this album to them, saying, "I think we can do something with this." And they redesigned the cover, remastered it. We showed up at the studio. You got to understand, man, I'm from a little small country town. And we show up to the studio, and like Brian McKnight was there, and I'm like, what is this? It's crazy. It's a big old studio. I don't even know what the studio is. I wouldn't even know how to find it now.
This is Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, and they remastered the album and signed the contract, and boom. I mean, every store. We went cross country looking for a store that didn't have us. And our album was in every single store. I mean, Texas, Denver, I mean, you name it. The album. We went to Miami, and it was over there too.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's kind of what, like I've talked to my wife before. I said that kind of what springboarded us ahead of all the other local rappers in the Bay Area. Is that album, even though it was a bum deal financially,
right?
But I mean, it created this huge platform that it would have taken me years if I would have ever got that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, you guys traveling and knowing where you guys live. Did you guys ever get any altercations performing?
No. Well, most performances I did was up north.
Okay.
And that was it, because that's the only place, like I said, that promoter.
Okay.
He would do the circuit. He would do Fresno, and then he'd do Stockton and Sacramento and San Jose and Oakland. So his whole circuit was there. He didn't go any further than that.
Okay.
So I never had any opportunities until later to do shows outside of Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to share that story with you that I told you. It was 1992, and me and High C were booked to perform in San Jose. Actually, we were booked twice.
Yeah.
And both times was a disaster. One of them was kind of good.
Yeah.
Okay. This is my experience first time meeting some norteños. Okay. It so happens that at that time, I wasn't too familiar with that area out there in San Jose. Yeah. So I wore a blue sweater, some blue Ben Davis, some blue Nike Cortez. I had a blue, if I'm correct, I think I had a blue LA hat or my blue Scanless hat. But I used to have a blue bandana hanging out of my back pocket. Yeah. Just, como un pañuelo, like my daddy used to wear. And High C's in the dressing room, hotel, and I tell him, hey man, I'm gonna go get something to eat. I'm hungry, dude. Before we perform, we gotta go. Now the promoter after sound check giving us some tickets. He goes, I don't know if you guys know anybody, but I got some tickets, but the show's sold out. These are the last of them if you want. And I said, I'll take them. First thing I thought, I'll sell them, you know. And he gave me 10 tickets, and they were obviously thinner than this, but it had our picture in it. Mm-hmm. We were performing with Lighter Shade of Brown, and if I believe, possibly, maybe like Brotherhood Creed, but it was another group like that.
Yeah, I did a few with Lighter Shade. Yeah.
So, and this it wasn't even a nightclub. It was a big hall. It looked almost like a boxing arena because the stage was in the middle. So we had to walk through the crowd. Okay. And so I told High C, I'm going to go get something to eat. We go, I go by myself. I walk one block. I find a Taco Bell. And I said, let me just stop there.
Yeah.
I'm looking up. Okay. Looking at the menu. Let me get a burrito supreme. Let me get 3 tacos and a large Coke. And as I'm looking up, I noticed that the glare on the menu turned red, like completely red. So I turned around and I saw about 10 or 12 guys just dressed in all red. Chicano dudes.
Yeah.
Possibly maybe one black, if I'm correct, or maybe a dark-skinned Mexican dude. And I thought these guys were Bloods. Okay. And I'm looking at him, and one guy walks up to me, and he gets right in front of me, and he goes, where are you from? And I said, what? Trying to buy time. you know? And he goes, yeah, where are you from? And I said, well, I might as well just go for broke. And I said, I'm from LA. And he, what you doing over here? And I said, well, we're performing. And I thought about the tickets.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look, check it out. And I showed him the tickets, and I go, we're performing. And then the guy goes, what are you performing? And I thought I was done. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, And I go, well, that's me right there on the ticket.
It was a high C cover?
Yeah, it was a high C cover. And since I was on the cover, it was on the ticket. So one of the guys from back of him goes, oh, those are the tickets that we couldn't buy. They sold out. He said, you're performing there? And I said, yeah. I go, that's me right there. And he says, can we have these? And I said, well, yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and go. I'm like, okay, cool, man. Thanks, bro. I said, all right, cool. Let me get my food. I'll see you guys later. I just grabbed my food, got the hell out of there. Okay. So we show up to perform. High C's up on stage. I'm playing instrumental Atomic Dog. He's hyping up the crowd, and it is just a sea of red. There's a San Jose. Okay. He thought they were all Bloods. You know, he told me, Tony, stop the music. And I stopped the music, and he goes, look at this crowd. This crowd is beautiful. Don't you love this color? And I'm over here like, you know, stop. We performed. We rocked it, though. But I told him, hey, dude, those weren't Bloods, homie. Those were Norteños right there, bro. And they were about to beat my ass at Taco Bell. He thought it was hilarious, you know. But that was my first encounter with some Norteños in San Jose. So, but did you ever run into any of those type of crowds when you performed, as far as from our side?
No.
Okay, because I know you said the majority of the shows you did were pretty much.
Yeah, I had never. I mean, I'm sure that would have happened if I would have ever performed in San Diego or Los Angeles or but I never did. I never got booked. I never, you know, a lot of times, you know, like at that time, you know, like the East Coast, what I noticed growing up, they had their own rap circles. They almost function as if no one else existed.
Yeah.
Either you were East Coast and that was it. Anything else was just country.
Right.
So I guess in a sense, it was kind of the same where I was at. You know, everybody, we were just rapping the experiences that we were living, you know, the things that we were living. And I think it was more of this blind, like blinders on, you know. I didn't need other markets. You know, that's the way I thought. I didn't need other markets as long as I'm selling here and doing concerts here and doing shows here. So
okay. Yeah. Now, you dropped that album, okay? It goes nationwide. What comes next?
That was a 1-album deal with Sunset Boulevard. After that, John Barunda said, hey, I'm going to start a label on myself. Why don't you come with me? I'll release all of you guys. We'll do a Darkroom Familia album, and then we'll do solo albums of each of you. So he's trying to build catalog.
Right.
And because he had to hook up with distribution at the time.
Yeah.
So we're like, sure, let's do it. And our nationwide status just continued after that with him.
Okay.
You know, and he pretty much released almost everybody in the group as solos, did a Darkroom Familia album, and we decided to move on from there.
Okay. Now, when you say everybody else, who was everybody else? Do you recall?
DJ MT.
Okay.
Him. I brought him along, and he released an album. Duke, which is one of the brothers.
Okay.
He did an album. Man, I bet you there's people out there that know the albums more than I do. Like it's been a long time, man.
Right.
You know.
Okay. Now I know there were Duke and Crooked.
Yes.
Okay. And were they were also, you mentioned Duke.
Yeah.
And Crooked, was he also a part of?
Yeah. They're both artists.
Okay.
Also. Yeah.
Okay. And so now, at what year did that album, Interview with the Chicano, drop? Do you recall?
That's with John Barunda on Explicit Entertainment.
Okay.
That one came out, man, I want to say 94, 95.
Okay. And how did that album do for you?
Well, I mean, John Barunda probably wouldn't tell me exactly how that album did, but
he'll say it did okay, right?
Yeah, but everywhere I went, because I would go to different states where there was huge pockets of Latinos, they knew who I was. Outside of LA, like I said, I would just kind of, you know, bypass Los Angeles, and then from Phoenix to Tucson to, I mean, any other southwestern state, you know, they knew who I was.
Right.
So,
and why did you title that album Interview with the Chicano? I thought that was pretty interesting, you know, so I've been wanting to ask
I was a
you.
huge fan at that time of the Anne Rice, and she wrote Interview with the Vampire.
Okay.
And I thought that was very intriguing of that movie. I remember the way it started out in San Francisco. I don't know if you remember that movie or not.
Yeah, of course.
It was in San Francisco where, was it Christian Slater? The character Christian Slater interviews a vampire in this building in San Francisco. And I'm like, well, I'm close to Frisco. I'm close to the city. So I'm going to call it an interview with the Chicano. That's kind of just influenced by that.
Okay. Now, out of all these albums so far that have dropped, from yourself, which one would you say was your best or your favorite one? Is there one that stands out?
Well, I'm a little biased right now because I did release a Christian one.
Okay.
Yeah, I released a full-blown Christian one in 2013.
Okay.
But aside from that,
right,
I would say the last one I did before going to prison, which was Engrave These Words on My Stone.
Okay.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and they said that album was the album that you can tell that you were very conflicted within yourself, which was true.
Right.
Because the other stuff, I was young, I was dumb, I was just saying whatever I felt like saying. But by this time, this album, I think I was already 30 maybe, 31.
Okay.
And I was really tired of the life. I thought I was building an empire, and really I had built a prison around me. And I was, because I wasn't just a rapper. I mean, I was out there doing this stuff. I was doing dirt. I was selling dope. I was just out there.
Right.
And I just yesterday, I can't remember who it was, but they said, I can hear that in that album because there was a realness and a grittiness to it.
Right.
And when I hear that album now, I've listened to it with my wife. I'm like, man, I'm crying out for God on that album. It's crazy because now looking back, that whole album sounds like I'm crying out.
Now, Engrave These Words on My Stone. Back then, what would those words have been on your stone?
I think it's a while back, but that's a good thought. It's a good question. I think everything. I did this album cover before that, and I'm going to answer that. This album cover was called "What Have I Become," and on the album cover, I'm looking at my reflection, and it was my old self, kind of like with the brown paño and some Chicano history books, and I was like in a Pendleton. But then on this side, I have like gold on and necklace and leather jacket and and I was literally saying, what have I become? Like, I started this thing out as somebody that cared for my culture and my raza, and now I became somebody that I was selling pounds of meth to my people. Like, what have I become? So on that album, Engrave These Words on My Stone, I think it was, I didn't know who I was anymore. Did I love my people or did I hate my people? And I think it would be something like that. I don't know any specific words of what would have been on that stone.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to hold that thought, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit about some questions that some fans want me to ask you. Pretty much 2 questions. And then we're going to talk about you going or being incarcerated. We're going to touch a little bit on that because I think it's important for people to know there's so much for us to cover that we possibly cannot do it all in one, but we're going to try. And then we're going to talk about what you're doing now, what you're going to be doing, and where can people reach you or whatnot. So once again, Roadium Radio episode 31. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm having an interview with the Chicano, David Rocha, formerly known as Sir Dyno, and we'll be back after this 10 minutes. So call somebody, text somebody, and definitely slap the hell out of somebody. Tell them to wake up because a positive message is coming. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Take us away, Johnny Boy.
Yo, this is how I see it. Tony A chilling at the Roadium with my homeboy Steve. Be on the lookout for our new 12-inch. The shit is dope. Yo, I like to say what's up to my homeboy Dre, my homeboy Prince of Jazz, and the girls with the big ol' ass. So Trip, I'm about to bust one more time to let y'all niggas know just what's on my mind.
In the morning, police at my door. Fresh to be this week across my bathroom floor. Out my back window, I make my escape. Didn't even get a chance to grab my old school tape. Mad with no music, but happy cause free. And the street to a player is the place to be. Got a knot in my pocket weighing at least a grand.
Ice Cube getting dumb at the Roadium with the funky drum, and you know my man Steve can get some. With a fool like Tony A when he plays stupid dope shit by WA. You wanna spray? Dumb motherfuckers, no doubt. And sucker DJ, get the fuck out. Tony A.
What did you say your name was? What did you say?
Tony A.
I have won 1 million battles.
Lights, cameras, action, sound. Give me that mic, I'm about to go down.
Thinking of a master plan.
This story's funny. I met this girl and she had money.
Drop that. What, please?
I bet.
My name is the Croft, the C-R-A-W-F-O-R-D, the poet high C. Tony A. the wizard, just as cool as a blizzard. Thinking out of tongue, stabbing pussy like a lizard. Oops, I'm sorry, homie, I didn't mean to say that. Steve is in the house. Come on, won't you play that funky dope beat? You know you gotta throw me some Stanley's ass Croft coming straight from the Roadium.
You are now about to witness
Tony A.
Get funky. Tell them where you from. You don't think how I'm living, well, fuck you.
Who's on a Saturday night in LA? Yo, feeling kinda funky. Stop what you're doing, cause I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to.
What the hell are you looking for? Can a young man make money anymore? Where my jewels are like freaking on the floor? Or is it my job to make sure I'm poor?
Disruption's disorderable, nourish not justify. Those that live at the FBI, look at mama's baby.
Get you, Dre.
Just do 1 2 1 2. Right about now, Eazy-E and Dr. Dre's in the motherfucking house.
Times are getting crazy. It's really hard to choose it. The Roadium's a spot to get funky, fresh music. Easy motherfucking E and my homeboy Dr. Dre. MC Ren is in effect, and you know we don't play. The The Roadium is hitting, but you know you can't leave until you get a deaf ass tape from Steve. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape. Oh Steve, oh Steve, oh Steve, just give me just one more tape.
Yeah, man, I came all the way down to the Roadium spot meet, man, to pick up one of them NWA tapes, man. And I talked to homeboy Steve down there, man, and he said I'm fresh out of tapes, man. How the fuck you fresh out of tapes, man? He said cause they selling like hotcakes and shit, man. That's my man going down. Hey, mom, what's for dinner?
These right here are the Ultimate Breaks and Beats. These were introduced to the West Coast by Steve YANO. They came from the East Coast to the West Coast, and they were sold only at the Roadium. You can still see the Roadium sticker there. And these are called, once again, the Ultimate Breaks and Beats. If you're a DJ or a producer, you better know what these are. If not, don't call yourself a DJ or a producer. Me and High C right here, we know about these. Back in the day, I would have doubles of everything. Here's a quick story. When Ice Cube left NWA, he came over to my pad, and I was playing some beats for him. Before he left to New York to do his album, America's Most Wanted, he actually asked me if he can borrow a set of my Ultimate Breaks and Beats. I let him borrow it, never saw the dude again, man. I guess that's what he meant by Jacket for Beats. But you know what? Much love to Ice Cube. He helped put not only Compton, South Central, but West Coast on the map. So much love to him. But once again, these are the records that Steve introduced to the West Coast. You don't believe me? Ask Dr. Dre.
Hey folks, it's your boy Lonzo, the Godfather of West Coast Hip Hop, and I'm kicking it live with my man Tony A. Check out his latest documentary on DOCUMIXERY.com. It's the bomb. It's all about my man Steve YANO and his contribution that he created from the Roadium swap meet that's still alive right here on Redondo Beach Boulevard. Check it out, y'all. DOCUMIXERY.com. My man Tony A. Much love, y'all. Much love, Steve. Peace.
Welcome back, everybody, to Roadium Radio, episode 31. And we're going to go ahead and cannonball right back into this. So once again, David Rocha, formerly known as Dyno, thank you for coming. I greatly appreciate it. Came a long way, and believe me, I'm very thankful and honored to have you here in my studio. So now, there's so much that we can talk about. You know, we're going to try to take our time, and whatever we can cover, we're going to cover. I know there was a fan actually several fans that asked me to ask you about a group breakup between Crooked and Duke. What was all that about? If you can give it to us, possibly in a nutshell.
You know, a lot of things happened when I got locked up, actually.
Okay.
During the time when Darkroom took off with John Barunda, with Sunset Boulevard, and then we moved on to a label in the Bay Area called Dog Day Records, and they were putting out a lot of the Bay Area artists, a lot of the big ones, the heavy hitters out there, so we were part of that roster. Over that time, there's some people that left. There's some people that... I'm a slow builder, man. I'm like, I want to build slow, because the slower I build, the more I get to the point where I want to get the most percentage on my records. I don't want to go to a label that's going to give me pennies.
Right.
And I used to say that, and some of the artists, they just wanted the fame. They want it now. You know what I mean? I'm like, who cares about fame? You know, I'd rather sell 5,000 CDs and make all the profit than to sell 200,000 for pennies.
For pennies, exactly.
And some of the artists didn't agree with that, and slowly some had left. You know, but when it wasn't until I got locked up that it kind of fell apart.
Okay.
Yeah, so that had nothing to do with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I will say this, and a lot of these guys here that are Chicano rappers out here in this area will possibly never admit because of where you were from at one point, okay? We talk amongst each other, and we all admit that you, Darkroom, Familia, were ahead of their time when it came to making movies.
Yeah.
Because nobody out here was making movies. Mm-hmm. You guys did, I remember the first one, Penitentiary Chances, okay? I'll be honest with you. I thought that was hilarious as hell. You know, I'm going to tell you what blew me away. When you have that one white boy, all these dumb wetbacks will do anything for pennies. That was hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
You know, because I just didn't believe him. Then you had that other goofy white boy sitting right next to him, and then you guys were putting in work. I thought that was cool, you know? I mean, I thought it was cool, you know. You looking back at that, what do you think, man? Do you laugh at that now or what?
The movie's cheesy.
Right.
But here's the thing, right? At that time, Master P came out. And he did this straight to VHS movie. I don't even remember the name of it.
Right.
But it just went crazy, right? So then we were really into movies. I'm still a movie collector.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So the two brothers, the Quiroz brothers, they're like, man, let's film a movie. I'm like, what do you mean film a movie? Like, I'm a rapper. What are you talking about? No, let's film a movie. And they started getting into figuring out how to rent a camera and how to use a camera, 16 millimeter film. And
right.
And we're like, we're going to put this movie together, man. And I was like, I guess, you know, whatever. And they're like, no, but you're going to star in it. I was like, I'm not no actor. What do you mean I'm going to star in it? You know, and basically it was like this. It was like, listen, we now at this point, there's other rappers coming up. We got to do something different. We got to do something further. So we have an opportunity here. Let's film a movie. And what happens if you are the main actor, it makes you bigger than life. Because we don't have access to MTV. We don't have access to that stuff, but we have access to put a movie out. And I'm like, well, let's see if it works. You know, we had no idea what we were doing.
Right.
I had nobody told me nothing about acting, you know, and but we put it out and it just blew up.
It really did
it was
very well.
Crazy. It was crazy. And then after that, we did a second full feature because that was a short film, like 20-minute movie.
Yes.
You know? And then we did a second movie, and by the second one, we had Jesse Borrego in it from Blood In, Blood Out. So we learned the mistakes we made in the first one. Don't get me wrong, there's mistakes in the second, third, fourth, and fifth movie, but each time you're gonna learn. And this time we're like, let's put a big name to us.
Did you guys have a budget, or this was just your own
We
money?
had a budget.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a very small budget, very humble budget. But nevertheless, we talked to Jesse Borrego. A lot of people probably know who he is. A guy in Blood In, Blood Out.
The artist
on
yes.
Blood In, Blood Out. He's from San Antonio, and he agreed to come down. I had nothing to do with that. I'm just like, it's these brothers, and they got a hold of it, and I'm like, sure, I'll act in it, you know, because I saw my record sales going up. All of our sales were going up. So then we released that, and what was awesome about it is that one, if I believe, I could be wrong, I don't remember maybe if it was that one or the next one, started getting distribution at Hollywood Video and Blockbuster Video. It could have been the next one after that, though.
Right, okay.
But it opened the door. And what happened was I started getting recognized for the acting, not even for my music. And I'm just like, this is crazy.
Wow.
You know, and it just took off from there.
Did you ever take any acting classes, or just straight from the street to the camera?
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing. Right?
Hey, you know what? A lot of rappers don't know what the hell they're doing, and they just mumble today in today's music, and they hit.
Yeah, a lot of people will be like, you know, like they'll say stuff. Man has, you know, cheap movie, this and that. Well, how many you got? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's kind of my attitude back then. You know, and it was fun, to be honest with you. It was a lot of fun.
So from the time you started making movies to the time you got incarcerated, how many movies did you release?
8.
8 movies?
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
I starred in 8 movies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do people still recognize you like, hey, you're so-and-so?
All the time.
Really?
All the time.
Wow.
You can just ask my wife.
Now, does it ever bother you that people still refer to you as Sir Dyno?
No, it doesn't bother me. It actually gives me an opportunity to share what I'm doing now.
Okay.
And that's the way I see it. You know, anytime somebody approaches me or somebody, and I get approached all the time, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, well, yeah, this is what I do now, though. You know?
Okay. Now, let me give a shout out to Chicano Style TV.
Yeah.
Okay, I talked to him today. Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason why I want to give him a shout out is because before me and you were ever in contact, I was just kind of combing through his Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I saw some of his interviews or some of his clips.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to his page and I ran across yours.
Yeah.
And I stopped at the part when you were talking about being set up and incarcerated.
Yeah.
I stopped there. Then I started reading Get Sir Dyno, Get Sir Dyno, Get Sir Dyno.
I see.
Right. So then I thought, okay, let me get it, and then I'm going to take the time to ask you what happened at that time that led you to prison.
Well, you know, there's this thing that people say they call people studio gangsters.
Right.
I never got that memo. I was really out there just being foolish. I was out there. I was just gangbanging, selling dope, whatever. I was just doing it, and I was rapping about it. I would rap about moving pounds from this city to that city because I was really rapping the stuff I was living.
Right.
You know, and obviously that caught the attention of you know, task force and gang task force, and I'm over here, you know, me and my friends, my crew, you know, we're out spending money and, you know, have nice cars and this and that. So I wasn't very discreet about it, you know, and just it reached a certain point where, like, I'm referring back to that album cover where I said, "What have I become?" It reached a certain point that I remember my mother, I was at her table and she said, "Where's the David at that I raised? Who are you? Because I don't recognize my son anymore." You know, and I'm like, he was weak. I said, "I'm Dyno." Like, literally, like, in my head, you know, I just went full blown because I had premonitions of dying young. I had premonitions that I get shot at a concert. I had premonitions that I wasn't going to live very much longer. So I made this thing in my head. I said, well, then I'm going to go all out. I'm going to say whatever I want to say on records. I'm going to say whatever. I would almost start riots at concerts. I'd be up there on stage with the gun in my waist. I was strapped. I had homeboys that were strapped. I didn't care. And I took on the mentality to the point where I would be like that, even around my family, even around my loved ones. I'm gonna just do or die. I used to say in my songs, I'm gonna ride till the wheels fall off. And I meant it at that time, you know, and it got, you know, I did this CD, it got banned.
And what was the title of this?
That one, it was GUN.
GUN.
Yeah, and that was a Norteño CD that I did.
Yeah, for people that may not know what GUN means.
At that time, because the first cassette I had was GUN, Generation of Under Nation.
Okay.
This time it was called Generation of United Norteños.
Okay.
And I understand. That's what I get. I read some of the comments, and sometimes there's a lot of hate in it. And it's so weird because I don't even know that person anymore, who I was,
yes,
and my mentality. But at the same time, when I read these comments, like even on the way over here, I was having my wife read them to me as I'm on the freeway, and I understand.
Right.
I get why they're like, how dare he go, you know, to LA? How dare he go on your show? And I'm just like, you know what? I don't blame him. I get it, because I was very hateful. I was mad at the world, mad at everything.
Yes.
You know, and this was my mentality. Cops would pull me over. They would search my car with my kids. They'd take my kids out of their car seats. So even that anger grew even worse. And it got to the point where it was just a big joke to me. I remember one detective pulled me over, and the dog was just going off, going crazy. Popped the trunk, and it was barking at the certain section. In my mind, I literally had 2 pounds of meth there, like literally 30 minutes before that. And here I am joking because they're trying to figure out why this dog's going crazy. And I'm like, this is how blatant I was. I told the detective, I said, "Oh, should have got me 30 minutes ago. You're a little too late." And we would just have this, remember that movie Heat?
Yes.
That conversation between De Niro and Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, yes.
It was like that with these two detectives and Tracy. We would see each other. Tracy was small. I'd see him at the gym. We'd see each other at the bank depositing money. And it was this little, like, I know what you're doing. I'm going to catch you one day, David. And I'm like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the life. You know what I mean? And on top of that, being a rapper, being recognized, going and doing shows and all this and that. So anyways, I got indicted in 2000 and 2001. It was called Operation Black Widow. They indicted a whole bunch of people. I was pulled into that. And then 3 years later, while I was fighting that federal case, because I was the FBI, fighting that federal case, I got on video surveillance or whatever, selling to somebody. And that person was working with the feds. And this person, I trusted him for like 13 years. I knew his kids. He knew my kids. I knew his dad. He knew my parents. And he was wearing a wire. And this was in December of 2003 when this happened. And that helped them build the a federal indictment toward me. And 3 months later, that's when I was arrested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're arrested, and if I'm correct, you're taken into custody.
Yeah.
You're found guilty, if I'm correct. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I
And
pleaded guilty.
Pleaded guilty.
Yeah, they had me on video and surveillance. He was wearing a wire.
Well, how many years did they sentence you for?
I got an 8-year sentence.
8-year sentence. Now, if I'm correct, I know you did one of those years in solitary.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is the part that I want to get to.
Okay.
Because this is where you're at today.
Yes.
Okay. If I'm correct, when you're in solitary, you repented.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What brought that about?
For that last album I did, like I talked earlier, Engrave These Words on My Stone, I was already tired. I thought I built a kingdom, but I built a prison. I was sick and tired of the sales. I was tired. I had children now. I felt like I was on this roller coaster. I've said it many times. I felt like I was on this roller coaster that wouldn't stop. It just got worse and worse and worse and faster. And I didn't know what to do. It was already my third arrest. A lot of people say, oh, all of a sudden you get arrested and you run a church. This is my third felony. You know, this wasn't like all of a sudden I get arrested and you know what I mean? I was just tired. I'm like, man, a third time again in a holding cell again. And this time, you know, they got me on video and they're talking about 23 years of life. And I'm just like, what am I going to do, man? I'm over here trying to please everybody. What about my children? And that's, you know, and then I thought back to my parents and everything they had went through and everything my dad went through, working hard as a farm worker, as a laborer, and how shameful for me to make easy money, you know, and it was just I was just tired, you know, and like I said, my dad accepted Christ when I was 8, and my dad was an alcoholic until that day. I still remember that day when he just said, I'm tired, and it was at a church service, and he went up and surrendered his life to the Lord, never drank again. To this day, my dad's still alive. My mom is still alive. So I'm in the cell. It was in Sacramento County, and I remember thinking, I'm tired, but I can't change. I don't know how to change. And I've always heard people say, oh man, Christians are a bunch of hypocrites, they're a bunch of this, a bunch of that, and I'm just like, God, I sure don't want to be no hypocrite. So either you fix this inside of me or just let me be. Because I ain't trying to be fake. I wasn't fake in the streets. I'm not going to be fake in the church. But God, if you are real and if you could really change me, then please do it. Because I don't know what else to do. I have no other way to turn. I don't know what to do. You know, I can't change myself. I'm full of anger, full of hate, full of all this stuff. And I need to get it out because it's destroying me like a cancer. And it was there where I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ right there. And I said, God, it was crazy, right? Because I'm like, either you change me or I'm gonna just function as a homeboy and just ride this thing out. And it was crazy because it's like, and I don't know how to describe it, man, but have you ever wore weights on your ankles? Or remember those weights you used to put?
Used to jog, yes.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, hours later, you take them off, and all of a sudden you feel light.
Yeah.
I felt like weights just coming off. And I'm just like, is this real? Is this real? You know what I mean? And I did have a lot of hate toward SoCal, Southern California. I did. In Sacramento County, they split you up. They have you separate because you can't even be in the same pods. It's just on and cracking in there.
Yeah.
So I remember that day I repented. And I felt weight come off of me. But see, I knew the true test was when I saw my enemy. When I saw somebody, because I would see somebody in Walmart, I see somebody at a gas station. It was like on. It was on and crack. It was like a pit bull. So I remember that day. The next day I was going to court. And when you go to court, the elevators are in the middle of Sacramento County. All Northerners are on this side. Southsiders are on this side. But we had to go to the same hallway to go down the elevator, go to court. And the craziest thing, I remember being taken out. They shackled us up. And I saw a whole line of Southsiders. And I didn't feel no anger. I didn't feel nothing. And I remember I'm like, what's going on? The change was so fast that I couldn't comprehend it myself. But that moment, I remember that moment, for me, I don't care what anybody said, I knew God was real. Because there's no way. It's indoctrinated in you. It's told in you. It's taught in you. And it's like, and then all of a sudden, I feel nothing. Nothing of anger, nothing of hate, nothing. And it's been like that ever since.
Yeah.
And some people can't comprehend it. And some people can't understand it.
Right.
And that's why, so when I see the comments and people say this or that, I get it, man.
Right.
Because I did say some bad stuff. I did say some horrible things, but it's like you're talking about somebody that no longer exists anymore.
The thing is that when people mention your name, they associate you with who you were in the past, 20 years ago or whatnot. That's what they associate you with. Now, and I know you can never please anyone, and you probably never will please anyone. I can never please anyone. Here's the thing, though. The first thing that people say, and I know you heard it time and time again, this guy goes to jail and he runs and hides behind the cross, or he hides behind the Bible. Because I've known dudes that have gone to jail, and right away they're a born-again Christian overnight, because they're scared.
Yeah,
they're scared.
I saw it all the time.
Yeah, they cause so much damage out here. I remember I had one dude call me at my house that I knew.
Yeah.
Hey man, does so-and-so, does he go to church? Was he a Christian out there? And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Find that out for somebody else, but and I'm sure you've gotten that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got
in the beginning. I mean, I've been out 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm going stronger than ever for the Lord. You know what I mean? So it's like that to me, time throws that out the window.
Right.
Because like I said, my first thing was, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be fake, God. If this is fake, I am not going to act like a Christian. Either something happens inside or I'm not going to do it, so, but yeah, I have been hit with that. I have seen comments with that, but there's nothing you can do.
Right.
All I'm going to do is live my life. It's something my daughter told me when I was getting released, my oldest daughter, and she said, she was scared because we see people do the Christian thing in jail. And she's like, she had this Christian dad in prison after 6 years, and I'm about to get out literally like a month or two before that. And she's like, Dad, I'm actually scared of you getting out. Because she knew how I was. Like, she's been there when there's been shootouts and stuff.
Yeah.
She had memories of this, memories of me telling her to hide under the bed because just, bullets are flying.
Right.
So she's like, Dad, I'm scared of you getting out. And I'm like, I remember distinct, and just like, it's clear as day. I told her, Mija, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. I'm going to come out. You're going to have your dad back. Mija, I'll die for you. And she says, see, that's the problem, Dad. I don't want you to die for me. I want you to live for me. And that broke me, man.
Yeah.
That broke me because all my life was pleasing the homies. What about my children? So when anybody says, oh, you let the homies down, I said, that's okay because I'm not letting my kids down now. Let them have David now. You had Sir Dyno. You had that. And whatever that means, whatever that, I don't know. But the remaining years of my life, let it be toward my children, whether I live to be old or whether I live tomorrow. It doesn't, what I mean? I want to know that I gave my kids that life today.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. Because that's what's going to be there, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome story. I have a question. We're gonna ask you something that you probably have never been asked before.
Okay.
And now, say I'm somebody off the street and you're talking to me about God and you share with me your testimony that you just shared.
Yeah.
So now I ask you, okay, why Christianity? Why not Mormonism, Hinduism, Buddhism? Why not Islam? Why not, being a Jehovah's Witness?
Mm-hmm.
Why Christianity? What was it about the Bible that intrigued you or that drew you to it?
Good question. I think the first thing people are going to say was obviously he was influenced because his mom and dad were Christian. That's the first thing people would run to. And I want to say this, is even though my mom and dad were Christian, my dad has a 3rd grade education. So he's not one to study the Bible. He's not a scholar. He's a simple man. He loves God, loves his family, and that's it. So when I dove into the scriptures, this is exactly what I said. Okay, Lord, since I'm going to follow after you, and I felt that change, I'm like, I'm going to learn everything there is about this because this is the way I am. I can't do something halfway. I got to learn everything about this.
Yes.
That's just, you can ask my wife, she knows it. You know, if I get interested in something, I'm going to learn 360 everything.
Yes.
So I wanted to understand what happened to me because I felt that stuff leave. I saw these people that's supposed to be my enemies. I don't feel this hate anymore. So I need to get to the bottom of this. I need to make sense out of this. And what happened was in reading the Bible and being in solitary, I didn't have a denomination influence me or anything like that. It was just me and the Bible. And I've always been a reader. So I have a good understanding, you know, and I just, as reading, and honestly, some of the stuff dismantled even my parents' beliefs of what they thought Christianity was. So it's not like I'm just falling into what, you know, and after a while, I'm like, I start questioning stuff that they had believed. And I'm like, well, the Bible says, you know, I don't care what your pastor says. What does the Bible say here, you know? And I became a student of the Bible. And here's the thing. Here's what really got me, and this is what a lot of people don't know. A lot of people think, well, it's just a book. It's just a book that's been changed over the years and this and that. Well, I'm like, you're talking out of ignorance and you're talking out of something that you probably heard somebody say, so you automatically took it as fact. But here's the thing. If you took the Bible away and completely banished every single Bible, what will we know about God now? There are letters that exist right now between emperors, between governors of that time of the Roman Empire, talking about this man named Jesus. There are letters that are nothing to do with Christianity. Matter of fact, they're talking bad about this guy that goes around doing miracles. They're talking bad about this guy that has followers because supposedly he rose again from the dead. They have all of this documentation. So even if the Bible were just completely done away with, thrown into a pit and doesn't even exist, and nobody would have a Bible anymore, we would still have the story of this person named Jesus that was born, that he did miracles, that he preached, thousands of people followed him. He was crucified and he was worshiped as God because he was raised again after 3 days. This is stuff people don't know about. For whatever reason, it's easier for people just to throw stuff out there. Now, the whole thing about the Bible, they'll say, well, it's been changed. It's been changed. Well, that was a fine argument until the 40s. Because in the 40s, what happened was there's these they're called the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the Dead Sea Scrolls, this little shepherd, this is known. You can just look it up. They found hundreds of transcripts of the Bible. So people that didn't believe the Bible, they're like, yes, finally, we have real documents, and we're finally going to show you that your Bible's been changed. This is the final proof. This stuff was written at the earliest, it was 100 years before Christ. Okay, so they said, finally, we're gonna just crush this right now.
Yes.
And as they opened these scrolls, and it took years because it was so brittle, they realized that it was like 99.9% accurate. The only inaccuracies were the fact that some names were just said wrong. So nobody can say the Bible's been changed. The same Bible we have today is the same one that was there at that time. Now, the last thing I would say is this. I don't know about other religions. I remember in federal prison, I was with this Muslim guy. He was right next to me. It was interesting because it was me, this guy, this gangbanger dude, this Muslim dude, and a Jewish guy. All in the same little quarter there. It was dorm living. And we'd had some interesting conversations. And one time I was having this conversation with the Muslim guy, real nice guy, you know what I mean? Really nice guy, very humble. And we had this great conversation, and I told him, I said, he basically was saying, well, you guys don't have the original Bible, it's been changed and this and that. And I said, well, hold on. I said, the Quran wasn't written until 600 years after the Bible. And when the Quran was written, paper was already invented. So you can't say you have the original transcripts and we don't, because the Bible wasn't written on paper. So of course it wouldn't last. But what we do have is copies of copies of copies that were sent out in different languages all over. I said, but anyways, I said, we can go back and forth on this all day. I said, but here's the thing. Let me ask you, I told them. What do you feel different about you? He's like, what do you mean? I said, I see you praying. You do it very, you're very loyal with your prayers every single day. What do you feel inside? I said, because we can argue back and forth about the Quran and the Bible, but you weren't there and I wasn't there. Neither of us were there. So we're going to go just in circles. So what happened in your life? What has God done in your life? What has Allah done in your life? Because I will tell you what he's done in mine. And that's all I have. Nobody can take away my testimony. And he just stayed. And he didn't know what to say. You know, I have seen too much. I became a Christian in 2004. What is that? How many is that? 16 years now. Longer than my rap career. But yet people want to label me as Sir Dyno. I have seen too much. I have seen too many lives change. I have seen people physically healed when I've prayed for them. I have seen too much that to this point, I'm just...
You know too much about him to doubt him.
Exactly. Exactly. There's it's just too much, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's an amazing story. Well, actually, testimony. You know, David, I may look dumb, but I'm not dumb. Okay.
You don't look dumb, bro.
Okay. Let me just share something. I'll take about 2 minutes. Okay. And I'm just going to add to what you were sharing. Okay. 1991. No, actually, I remember the day, September 23rd, 1990. Met a man, very smart man, and he introduced me to history. History. My first book that I read, it was an ancient history book on Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, and eventually Israel.
Yeah.
Okay. And I read all these books, ancient history, given to me. And eventually he ended up giving me an old book. He tells me, yeah, I'm going to give you an old book. And I said, how old is it? Because he told me he had books from like the 1700s. He was a book collector.
Wow.
And I said, wow. And I'm thinking to myself, he's going to give me a nice book.
Yeah.
Heck, he's going to be worth some money. And he gives me a 1611 King James Bible. Okay. And I said, how old is this book? And he said, it dates back to day one. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So then I remember I opened it up. In the beginning, God said.
Yeah.
And I said, what the heck? And he said this, do not read it as a religious book, read it as a history book. That's what he told me. I said, all right, cool, no problem. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, began to read it.
Yeah.
I went to the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1st, 2nd, Corinthians, I could keep going on, okay? So then I brought it back to him. And then he says, are you done? And I said, yeah. And he goes, keep reading it. I'm going to give you this book. And I said, all right, but I already read it. And he says, what stood out from you, from this book?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I read about Assyria, Egypt, Persia, Babylon. They're all in there, But the ones that intrigued me the most was actually the history of Israel.
Yeah.
So I began to read a little bit more on the history of Israel. 70 AD, when Israel was dispersed to the four corners of the earth. Okay. And when May 14, 1948, Israel became a nation again.
Yeah.
June 7, 1967, Jerusalem was restored as the capital of Israel again, even though today, Tel Aviv is the capital of Israel. But we know that, I guess, according to the Bible, Jerusalem is.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I began to share with him, because he was quizzing me if I actually read the book. 39 in the Old, 27 in the New. The Old Testament in Hebrew is called the Tanakh. The Torah is the first 5 books that Moses wrote. Okay, and he was quizzing me. The New Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The New Testament was written in Greek, except certain portions of Esther and Daniel were written in Aramaic, which is just pretty much a sister language of the Hebrew language. I began to study the Hebrew language. I know a little bit. I know the Greek language. So nobody can lie to me. Sometimes I like to look dumb and just sit back and observe and let people talk.
Yeah.
Now, you may ask me, Tony, do you believe in God? Okay, with me, there are no short answers.
Yeah.
There are no short. I cannot just give you a yes or no. But here's what I will say. If I look at that picture, I know there was a painter.
Yeah.
If I look at a building, I know there was a builder. If I look at a car, I know there was a maker. Okay. If I look at a tree, I have to believe that there's a creator.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe in intelligent design, that there is a God that designed everything. Okay. Do I believe that the Bible is true? Absolutely, 100%. Okay. I've never shared that before here on Roadium Radio. People are probably tripping out and they're like, okay, is this a Bible study or what? But you know what? I don't care. You guys are still tuned in, so bear with me. Okay, so yes, I do believe.
Yeah.
I mean, if people don't believe it, they could just take their King James 1611 Bible, go to the Temple Institute in Jerusalem, and they have the whole scroll of Isaiah. And if you understand Hebrew, you can read the whole book of Isaiah from English to Hebrew, and it's all there. Whether people want to deny it or admit it, it's all there. So, anyways, other than that, you appeared on the 700 Club.
Yeah, you saw that?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Okay, and for people that don't know, that's Pat Robertson, if I'm correct? Pat Robertson, okay. But now, you shared a story on there that I thought was very fascinating. And I want you to share it. You were in solitary.
Yeah.
And there was an assassination planned or a hit.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us?
Well, there's a thing. It's funny. I was just telling my wife this, is that back home there was a saying. I'm completely out of the whole gangbanging, prison gang thing right now, but there was a saying back then that said, God might forgive you, but we don't. And in a sense, that's kind of like, I understood the repercussions of this thing. For people to say that I ran to church because I was scared, to be honest with you, my life has never been threatened more because I'm a Christian. So if I'm going to be scared, it would have been easier just for me to stay the way I was, actually, because I was... I had a good reputation. I could go anywhere, have my head high, sign autographs. People knew me, have respect, but the fact is that doing this life and living this life has actually brought in something different. So anyways, I'm in solitary confinement. And by this time, people knew that I wasn't functioning anymore, that I wasn't active anymore. And I was already a Christian by this time for 1.5 years. So I got taken to Santa Rita. Santa Rita is one of the biggest county jails, huge complex. And this active guy got put next to me. Now, in solitary confinement, they say 23-1. You're supposed to get out 1 hour a day, 23-hour lockdown. But this pod was so big that by the time my hour came, it'll be 3 days later. So really, I'd get 1 hour every 3 days. So he was in cell 1, his door would pop so he could have his hour, he could use the phone or shower, whatever he wanted to do, walk around. After his hour, he locks it in. Next, David, Rocha, you wanted your hour? Yeah. Then mine pops. So basically, somebody found out that he was next to me. He's active. He gets a Wheela. I don't know if you want to explain what a Wheela is. It's a little tiny micro letter they do in prison. Apparently, he gets a Wheela saying, you need to figure out how to, since you come out right before him, fix your door. So that way when he comes out, I want you to hit him. Because this dude is not functioning. And he's saying he's a Christian. So he was told this. So he befriends me. He's an OG, veterano dude. He'd been doing state time in prison. And he was trying to fight for some motion. So they brought him to the county jail.
Yes.
So this is a straight pinto, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what prison I don't remember, but he was there for a short time. He gets these orders, and that's it. So obviously, here's the thing. I don't know how they function down here, but over there, it's your best friend that's gonna do something to you.
Yeah.
So he starts talking to me and asking me about me being a Christian. At that time, in his eyes, I'm digging my own grave because I'm like, yeah, man, I follow Jesus and this and that, whatever. So I'm digging my own grave in his head because he's like, okay, this dude's no good. You know what I mean? Because basically, anytime you preach Christ in there, it's considered preaching poison. You're spreading poison.
Right.
To me, it's spreading light. But anyways, so he's told that, and he's befriending me. And next thing you know, I start sharing with him, and sharing with him, and sharing with him. And finally, one day out of nowhere, he comes to my cell, and it's his time to be on his hour. He comes to my cell because my cell had a little window, and he goes, "Hey, David," he goes, "I want to talk to you." I was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" He goes, "I want to apologize." For what? You didn't do nothing. And that's when he told me what his plans were. And he goes, "I'm supposed to do this." He goes, "But he goes, I want to give my life to Jesus too, man. And right then and there, I led him to the Lord. And after that, it was crazy because he had never gotten a visit in years. And when my parents came to visit me, I told my dad about the situation. So my dad pulled him out for a visit. And my mom pulled me out, and we both came out on visits. And my dad was able to share with him his testimony. You know, and I told him, are you sure you know what you're doing, man? Because you got to go back to state. You know, and he's like, well, then we'll both die. You know, and for me, that's what this whole thing's about. You know, and there's something that the Bible says that I say all the time, where Paul says, "It is not I who live, but Christ who lives in me." And basically, what that means is this: and I tell people all the time, Sir Dyno's dead. He doesn't exist. So when I see derogatory comments to Sir Dyno, I'm like, man, you're talking to a dead person, because I'm David Rocha.
Yes,
I am not that person. You know, and I know people don't like to hear it, and I understand it. You know, at the same, there's fans that say, man, but I love your music so much. And I'm like, you know, thank you, because that did take artistic, you know, artistry, you know, to do those songs. And I get it. I'm not trying to completely throw that away. I get it. I understand where you're coming from, but understand that ain't me anymore. That's not what I'm about. That isn't me anymore. You know, when I got baptized in Terminal Island, which is not too far from here.
Right.
I got baptized there. So I tell people, I said, Sir Dyno drowned. What do you mean Sir Dyno drowned? He drowned in the baptismal, because Sir Dyno went down and David Rocha came up. And that's what I say all the time. Okay. You know, and I understand. I get people that rubs people wrong, and I get it, man, but there's nothing I could do. I'm sorry, but this is my life. I got to live my life.
Yes.
You know, and that's all I can do.
Awesome. You know, for those of you that are leaving negative comments, obviously we're not going to be able to stop that. But instead of just smearing our name, my name, and your name, you know what? Just pray for us. That's it. If we really bother you that bad, then just pray for us. Don't talk about us. Pray for us. Now, moving on, you have now been pastoring now for 7 years.
2011. 9 years.
9 years. 9 years. And at House of Rest.
House of Rest.
In what city?
Modesto.
Okay. Now you have some books here. Do you you care to share with us? I know you mailed me this book right here.
Well, what happened was my first time I caught a felony was in 99. I got caught with, I think, 2 ounces of meth. They gave me a year, and I did a lot of it on house arrest. So I didn't have nothing to do, so I'm going to write a book. I've always wanted to write a book. I'm a reader.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wrote this book, Before Christ. This is actually it's a non-Christian book. It's just a story.
Okay.
Now, as a Christian, I felt it important to put it out, even though it's not a Christian book, because it's still a story that needs to be told, because it's about a young Chicano being pulled from his culture and gang culture, and he feels pulled between, and I felt that it was very important to re-release it. So I re-released this. It's an Audible. It's on Amazon Audible, you know, and you can. I'm the one narrating in it. It's an ebook and it's a paperback. This is on Amazon right now. It's anywhere, Barnes and Noble, Walmart.com, Target.com. But because of that, I got approached by somebody at my church, and he says, I really want to write my story. You know, I need you to help me, because he knew about this book.
Okay.
And this is Alfonso Gomez, who's a good friend of mine. So we wrote this. He was a pastor's son. Crazy story, man. This one is like, actually, these I'm gonna leave it with you. But this one, you can't put it down. And he always told me, he goes, listen, you need to release yours. You need to release yours. There's something else I didn't say. When I was in solitary, you got to program. If you don't program, you'll go nuts in there. What I mean by that, you got to literally program every minute, every hour of your day in your cell, or you will go nuts. You'll lose track of time, and days blend. What I mean program, some people get up, they do their exercise, or they get up and clean their cell, then they eat breakfast, and then they write letters, and then they read you got to have a program. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write my story. And I'm going to write my story because even at that time, I knew who Sir Dyno was. I get it. And I knew people were going to want to know that story. So I said, I better write it in here because it's going to feel different if I write it once I'm out. So I started writing it, 220 pages handwritten in prison, and I've held it for 10 years. Well, after doing Alfonso's book, and him telling me, because he knew about those pages, he encouraged me. He goes, David, you need to bring your book out. And I dusted it off. I brought it out. I'm a better writer now, so I changed a lot because it's got to be better writing. But literally this week just released, and which is this one, Lost in the Storm.
Okay.
This one is my life story, which I can't tell you everything in an hour or two.
Right.
This is my life story. This just released on Amazon as an ebook, as a paperback book, and this is my life. It's called Lost in the Storm. I just released this one. This is another guy from our church. He's a Dale. He's a Vietnam vet, and he wrote his book. So this is a huge thing that I feel huge passion for now. Mm-hmm. People ask me, "Are you going to produce music?" I said, "Well, I did do a song. We did the song a year ago. My wife sings. She leads worship at the church. So we've done a song. We did a song together 2 years ago. Those you can find them. You can find them if you want to. If you don't want to pay 99 cents, you can listen to it on YouTube. You know what I mean? Because 99 cents is too much. But you can go to YouTube, and type in Dyno, or it's called God is Faithful. Okay. That's a song I did with my wife last year. There's two ex Darkroom members that go to my church too, actually, ALG and Young Ant, and we did a song together last year. 2013, I did a whole Christian album, Dyno, called Called to Reach the Masses. But right now, my passion is I want to author books, And somebody said, why do you go from rapping to authoring books? I said, this is nothing but a long song. I remember at the time when I used to write raps, I'm like, this was a way to express myself about this subject or this subject for 3 or 4 minutes. And after a while, 3 or 4 minutes isn't enough to share what it is you want to share. To me, the automatic graduation of writing raps is to write a book. Mm-hmm. These are just songs to me, just 200-page songs. So if there's anybody that liked the music, because I used to be a huge storyteller in my raps. I think that's what people used to like a lot, because I would just do these scenarios and these stories and take people along a trip. And if you like that, if people like that about it back then give us a shot. Any of these books that I shared, and if you ain't about the Christian thing, well, get this one, because it still has a good lesson to it.
Yeah.
But this, all of these are on our website. We have a church website. Can I share that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's www.houseofrestchurch.com. You go to that, you can find all the music I'm talking about. You can find all of these books. You find things about our church. You find things, we have a YouTube channel ourselves.
Okay.
We have, I think, 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers. My wife and I do a daily devotional every single weekday. We release it at 3 o'clock in the morning. That way East Coast gets in at 6 when they're getting up for work. And we do a little, 30, 40-minute little devotional. We just talk. I'm just real. It's not like this super stuffy Christian. See, when people think Christian, they think of that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand, man. When you really see, because I was a student of the Bible, it led me to freedom. I didn't come out of street politics to get into church politics. And that's what a lot of people are sick and tired of. A lot of people compare it to that. And I'm like, no. I ain't talking about the Christianity you're talking about. I'm talking about the Christianity that sets you free. And so we share every single day, Monday through Friday, on our YouTube, which is, the YouTube channel is just named after me, David Rocha.
Okay.
Yeah. At the time, I didn't know what to name it. So I just, when you set up your account, you just put your name, and there's like, this channel's going to be David Rocha. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm going to have 1 or 2 viewers, and now it's, 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers. So
awesome. So can anybody be expecting any more movies, possibly?
Yeah.
That's in the works?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did a Christian film.
Okay.
That right now I'm actually writing the book for it, and the book is going to come with the movie in it. Okay. So it became a movie first, and now I felt like, man, 90-minute movie, I want to say more in it. You know what I mean? So now I'm going to write the book, but it's going to come with a movie. But it's called Always With You. Right now, that movie is free on YouTube, but I'm going to take it down pretty soon. Okay. But right now, if you type in Always With You official movie, It's a movie that I did along with Scott Youngkite. He's another pastor. We wrote it, directed it, edited. I did everything. We did all of it.
Wow.
Everything, because everything I learned from those other 8 films I did in the past.
Right.
And one of the main actors was Jose Rosette. He's done a lot of movies. He's been like in Walking Dead and just a lot of movies here in Hollywood. He was in it. ALG was in it, who's one of the ex-Darkroom guys, and actually my middle daughter, she's one that starred in it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's called Always With You. So we've been busy, man.
Awesome.
We've been busy, always busy, because I can't be any other way.
Awesome. Now, last thing before we close.
Yeah.
Okay. If there is a youngster out there listening right now, or eventually listening to this, and he's possibly heading in the wrong direction, in a few short words, what type of message would you give that youngster that's heading in the wrong direction?
The first thing I would say is that tomorrow isn't promised. Can I look at the camera when I say?
Absolutely. Johnny, give me this one right here.
Yeah, because I don't know who I'm talking to, and I don't know you, but here's the thing, is that tomorrow isn't promised. I remember when I was young, this guy, he went to a church service, and he felt the stirring, and he came up front, and the pastor was like, "Are you ready to accept Christ?" And he said, "No, not yet, but I will next week." So this dude, this was in Stockton. This is when I was young. He was all choloed out. He promised he would come next week and dedicate his life to the Lord. The next week came, Saturday night, right before that Sunday service, he walked into a church's chicken. And some enemy saw him, walked in there, and shot him in the face with a shotgun. That was his opportunity.
Yes.
And he waited too long. So here's the thing, I don't believe in coincidence. If you are watching this, especially if you're watching this for the first time, because I get, because you have viewers, but if you're watching this for the first time, you're like, why am I even watching this? Maybe it's because of this time right here, right now, this moment right now. Is that you don't have to live that life. You don't have to. I was in it. I was caught up in it. And here's the thing, that you don't have to live it out. You don't have to live it out. You can change. If I can change, if somebody like me can change, then you can change. The whole, 8 years, an 8-year federal prison sentence, and that got knocked down to 6, and the things that I had to deal with that, and the repercussions of that. Not only that, but the repercussions of getting out and even looking for jobs. I got 3 felonies on my record, and that's the first thing that pops up. I don't even have I can't even write a proper resume because all my life skills were rapping and selling drugs. So I don't even have a good work history to put. And it's the thing, right? Some youngster watching, if you're a young person, that might not mean anything to you because you don't have any kids, you don't have bills, you don't have anything. You're just worried about paying maybe your cell phone or something, whatever. But when children come along and family comes along and that child wants clothes and needs diapers, and you got to feed that child and you want to make that child feel safe, what are you going to do? Because you're not always going to be a teenager. You're not always going to be in your early 20s. Sooner or later, you're going to be an adult. And the choices you made in those younger years right now that you're making right now are going to shape the rest of your life. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I want to say this too. If anybody, all you got to do, if you really, truly want to change and don't know how, I want to give you my email and reach out to me. And it's houseofrestchurch@gmail.com. And you know what? If somebody's going to take that email and just cuss me out, you know what you're going to get back? Is you're going to get prayers back for you. That's all you're going to get. My wife cracks up because people will sometimes just say crazy stuff and I just start giving them life. I speak life into them because here's the thing the Bible says, that darkness doesn't comprehend the light. And it's like, you can say what you want about Dyno. Dyno's dead. And if you truly want to change or you don't know how to change, all you got to do is email me. This is what my life work is. Do you understand? This is what I live for.
Awesome. So houseofrest@gmail.com.
Houseofrest@gmail.com. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get that wrong earlier?
House of Rest
Church. Man, big mistake.
@gmail.com. It's okay. They can rewind it.
Okay. So, houseofrestchurch@gmail.com.
Awesome. And they can also get these books where?
Amazon.
Everywhere.
Every platform you can think of. I'm going to do an Audible actually when I get back. I'm going to start doing the Audible for this Because I don't have time to read all the time, so I love listening to books. I go to the gym or ride my bike, and I listen to books myself.
Awesome.
This is going to be an audible that I'm going to narrate, but right now you can get this on Amazon as an ebook. The ebook is like $3.49. To get the ebook, you can download it. You might say, "Well, I don't have a tablet." It's all right. Just get the Kindle app, and you can read it on your phone. $3.49. The paperback is $20. If you have somebody in prison, I want to say this. If you have somebody that's incarcerated that you think would really benefit from this, go to our website. I have a 25% discount for inmates. It has all the things. It has to go to a prison or a jail or honor farm, but 25% off discount for anybody that's incarcerated. But you can't do that through Amazon. You got to do it through our website at www.houseofrestchurch.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay. Well, right now I'm going to give you the opportunity to, if there's anybody you want to give a shout out to, say hello to, whatever. Right now you could do that.
I just want to say hello to our House of Rest family in Modesto, our extended House of Rest family, our viewers from our YouTube, every single one of you guys. You know what I mean? Every single one of you. And I just want to give a shout out to Jesus Christ, because it's every day that I live is because of him, and everything I do now is because of him. And he's given me my life in a way that I never thought I could ever have. And all I want to do now is have other people set free the same way. That's it. That's my mission. And it's like, as I'm driving here and put in $90 of gas to come and drive over here, that's my whole thing, is I want to talk with you and share with you my heart, and hopefully it reaches somebody else that's watching. That's my payback.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you coming. Honestly, no words can express on how thankful I am that you guys came and drove this far, from Stockton to my humble home here in the city of Wilmington. And once again, I'm glad you spoke. You spoke your heart. I'm glad you shared. And people now can reach you by email or by Amazon or by YouTube or whatnot. And now they can know everything about David Rocha, formerly known as Dyno, who died in Long Beach.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where I give my shout outs. First of all, I want to thank my boy Johnny Boy, my boy DG, Big Daddy Swoles. Big Daddy Souls, nobody wants to mess with Big Daddy Souls, okay? My son for helping me promote this. And once again, in closing, David Rocha, formerly known as Sir Dyno, for coming out and chopping it up with me.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So once again, see you guys Wednesday. We have a awesome special guest. Actually, it's going to be a double feature. I'm going to dabble a little bit in the political realm, and I'll give you guys a hint. I will have the first Mexican mayor of the city of tomorrow. I'll tell you guys tomorrow, okay? And I will have also a rapper, an actor, producer, writer, along with a double feature Wednesday, so stay tuned. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Johnny Boy, DG Media Clips, Big Daddy Swoles, David Rocha, formerly known as Sir Dyno, and we're out. God bless. Have a blessed night.